what were your expectations you had moving to the host country? Were you expecting anything? Were your expectations met or not?
I think this country is like better than my expectations because I didn't have any expectations of the country because I was still relatively young. I wasn't really exposed to different cultures, and I thought it was gonna be scary. But once I reached the country and settled in, I realized that it's not as different as my home country, and the people are nice, and I can just easily adapt well.
Let me ask you, have you ever gotten any stereotypes from someone from your host culture or someone from your home country?
Yes, actually, I experience that quite often. Whenever they learn that I'm Indonesian, usually they will say that, "Oh, your English is very well." Usually, Indonesian they don't speak English very well. So,
Still being Indonesian in a Malaysian country, have you ever seen an advantage of being bicultural in your host country?
yeah, good question. Yes, for sure. I've seen a lot of like um advantages, you must say. It's not really an advantage, but I do feel different. I do feel unique being in this country as Indonesian. And also being able, one thing that really stands out, I think it's my language. So even though Bahasa Malaysia and Bahasa Indonesia is similar, but it's actually really different. Maybe once you see like the vocabulary, it's quite similar, but the way they use it, the way they pronounce it, sometimes even the meaning can be different. So I think being in Indonesian and also a native in Bahasa Indonesia really makes me unique here, especially when you're jumping into the working world, when sometimes it can be challenging to compete in the same um, job, a general job title. But for example, when you're applying for something or you found something that needs the Bahasa Indonesia language, for example, your market is Indonesia and like your clients is Indonesian. So like that bahasa, that culture, that background is kind of like an advantage.
How did you deal with the differences in food, maybe friends or cultures?
Okay, I'll discuss it like separately. So the first time I came here, um, I was not really, I didn't really feel a challenge finding food because like relatively Indonesian and Malaysian food is quite similar. So I didn't really feel any culture shock there. But when it comes to the local people, I do feel a little bit slight difference between Indonesians and Malaysians. Maybe because I'm also native in Indonesia. I come from Indonesia and I grew up in Indonesia. I'm experienced with the niceness and the politeness of Indonesian. And I'm not saying that all Malaysians are not nice or they're not polite, but it's definitely different.
You said that some of the local people are sometimes you can feel like they're different. Can you explain more about that, about the
Okay.
differences?
I guess maybe because I have a certain expectation from strangers because I grew up in Indonesia. I experienced people in Indonesia. They're very polite and their service is very nice. Usually, the people that I'm used to, they're all like, "Oh yes, I'll give sure, yes, yes, yes. What can I help you with?" And they're very polite and very nice. And I feel like that's the kind of expectation I have of people, strangers in general. And when I came to Malaysia, even though the difference is not very significant, but I feel like the people here, they're much more relaxed. They're much more chill. Even like the the people that works in a cafe or like food stalls or just like a small food shop or mini mart and all that stuff, the people are tend to be just very relaxed. They don't really um, see you as like someone very important just because you're their customer or because you're a stranger. So I guess uh, that is the thing that I experienced the most.
When coming to obviously living in Malaysia for a long time, do you feel as if you yourself is bicultural? If yes, please explain. If no, what are the reasons why?
I guess yes and no. I cannot say really that I'm by culturally. Sorry, is that yeah? Yeah, I cannot really say that I'm multicultural or bicultural. I feel like at heart I'm still Indonesian, and I identify myself as Indonesian wherever I go. But and also I feel like um, maybe because I'm also not really exposed to the proper Malaysian culture or any Malaysian related history or traditions and all that stuff. I'm not really exposed to that while I'm here because the whole period of time, most of the time when I'm here, I'm only studying, and now I'm working, so I'm usually just focused in that aspect. And also, sorry, and also I don't really um, explore much of the country. So I guess I would identify myself more as an Indonesian rather than like multicultural or bicultural. And um, other than that, even despite me saying that I feel like at heart I'm Indonesian, I do feel like whenever I'm back in Indonesia or back in my home country, I don't feel like I'm the same anymore, or I don't feel like I'm in the same mindset. I'm not in the same, I don't have the same cultural behavior, or the way I talk is slightly different. So I guess that's kind of like the thing that happens to you when you live abroad, usually.
Okay, thank you for your time for taking this interview.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. It's nice to help and share about my experience in Malaysia.